Cancers, what's up? It is your girl Niara, and I hope all is well in your world. I truly do. So, I wanted to hop on here because we have so much happening this week and the next week, okay? So, Saturn will finally be joining Neptune in Aries, which is your 10th house of public recognition, leadership, authority, legacy, as well as eclipse season happening next week, which is activating your first and seventh house axis. First and seventh house axis. So that's going to be like me versus we going on here. And before I get into those major themes that are going to be happening next week, as well as once Saturn move over into Aries, move over into Aries, that next week it will also be at a 0-degree conjunction with Neptune. So this is going to be a 36-year reset in your 10th house of public recognition, leadership, legacy, all of that, okay? And so I really wanted to go back all the way to January the 1st so we can understand what has been building up until now. So you may have been feeling like, why does my life feel like it's just being ripped apart right now? But trust me, it is for your good. And I know that sounds crazy because you're having to deal with that, right? But it really is for your good. And I'm going to explain to you why. But we got to take it all the way back so we can understand where we are now, okay? So grab your snacks, grab your favorite beverage, grab whatever you need to get comfortable. Get your notebook, okay? Get your pen, take your notes, okay? Pause it if you need to. But let's get into this. Okay, so January the 1st, you're already starting off with a square. And I have my notes here, so you may see me look down a little bit, okay? So you're already starting off with a square. You have a Mercury in Sagittarius, your 6th house, squaring Neptune in Pisces, your 9th house. And Mercury, at this point, Mercury is at 29 degrees. So that's a very critical enervated degree because it's getting ready to shift, okay? And I'm going to explain it to you, trust me. So it felt emotional to you a little bit because you're feeling that tension, right? And I'm going to explain to you why. But it had purpose. So in real life, that square may have showed up as, work no longer made sense to you. Daily routines felt pointless or misaligned. You're doing a lot, but it doesn't mean anything anymore. And the confusion about why am I even doing this? And why this matters is because the 6th house is asking you, how are you spending your days, right? And the 9th house is asking you, what is this all for? The square forced you to, notice that your daily life does not reflect your beliefs, goals, or direction. Okay, because your 6th house is about your work, your service, and your health. The 9th house is about your belief systems, higher learning, philosophy, travel, things of that nature. So you're having this tension starting off, already getting ready to make it. And with Mercury, it's all about the mind. It's all mental, right? It's all cerebral. So it's just making you aware that you can no longer ignore how uncomfortable or misaligned you may have been feeling with regards to your day-to-day routines. And work is a part of your day-to-day routine because that's something that you are doing daily, as well as making you look at your health. Are you really happy with the way you have been taking care of yourself from a health standpoint? Do you want to get in the gym more? Do you want to, engage in more physical activity? Are you eating properly? Is this really aligned with how you see yourself? Again, that's that 9th house. That's that belief system. So it's starting you off the year with awakening you to your misalignment in your daily life. And your 6th house is so important because, again, this is what you're doing every single day from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep. And it's something that you're doing repetitively. So you want to make sure that this is something that you are aligned with. Your 6th house is really important. All right. There's a lot of stress shows up. So again, Mercury, again, is making you aware of how uncomfortable some of you may be with your day-to-day routines, with work being the main focus here, okay? So that's how you started your year off. And it's all going to make sense. Trust me, as I start to explain things, you're going to start to, see the invisible thread that's connecting the dots here. Okay. And so later on, and it's so funny because later on that same night, Mercury shifted right into your seventh house. It shifted right into Capricorn, your seventh house of one-on-one dynamics, partnerships, business contracts, all of that. And why? And so now you're going to understand why the previous aspect was so important in getting you to understand how uncomfortable you were, because now Mercury has moved over into Capricorn, your seventh house. And guess what? Your work, what you agreed to, that's an agreement. That's a partnership that you're having with your job. When you sign that compensation and benefits package, when you agree to, your task or what you are to carry out every day for that amount of pay. So now that you are being aware of these things, it's making you feel like, why did I even agree to that? Was the juice really worth the squeeze? For all this amount of work, am I getting the right recognition for the work that I'm doing? Am I getting the right pay? It's making you think about these things. It's not saying that all these things are going to be resolved immediately, but it is making you very conscientious about what you have agreed to, even in your romantic relationships. So it's like, do I really want to do this? I know I said that, I was going to do that, but I don't think this really is aligning with who I am becoming or who I see myself being, down the road. And so that's why so now you can start to see that connection between that square and now Mercury transiting into Capricorn, your seventh house, because now you're going to become more conscientious about what you're saying yes and no to. Now you may have some thoughts around, maybe I should go talk to my boss or my supervisor about a raise, or what can I do to, grow, or you're starting to think these things at least. Maybe I need to find a new job. Maybe this is even what I really want to do anymore. So you're starting to think these things. Now the wheels are turning. Now the cogs in your mind are turning. So you're trying to plan things out again. That is Mercury. So, okay, then January the 2nd, we're having, and right after all of that came out, right after your mind became conscientious of how misaligned your daily life was, based upon what you see yourself doing and believing for yourself. And then boom, January 2nd, the sun is sextile in the North Node. This is destiny starting to respond to your conscientious awareness about how unhappy you are or how misaligned things have been going in your life regarding your daily routines and your belief system, right? And so in real life, with the sun sextile in the North Node, you're starting to have conversations about the future, right? Whether it's internal conversations with yourself or conversations you're having with family and friends. And so then, you're starting to have the decisions that feel aligned, even if they're uncomfortable, like maybe leaving a job that probably provides some type of security for you, right? You're starting to have these thoughts, not saying that you're actually pulling the trigger on these things, but they are running in your mind, right? So it's like a sense of, what am I doing? Is this leading me anywhere, right? And so why this matters is because the universe doesn't respond until you do, Cancers. So everything happens in sequential order. Everything happens in order when it comes to astrology. It's never random. It's not arbitrary. This is just not some random things going on. So once the awareness came, now the alignment came with sun sextiling the North Node. The North Node is all about your destiny, right? It's all about your forward, your North Star. So now that these ideas are aware in your mind, now the universe is providing avenues for you to course correct, so to speak, right? So in real life, this is like you're starting to think about those things. And then right after you're having this course correction regarding work, regarding daily life, so they can align with what you truly believe about yourself, right? Remember, ninth house themes. Then guess who goes direct? Damn Chiron. The wounded healer. It's so funny to me once you really start seeing like the dots being connected. It is so funny to me. So now that all this gunk is coming up to the forefront about how just unaligned, how off balance your life is, it's like now everything is starting to come up. So Here come Chiron. Now Chiron stationed direct. And Chiron is stationing direct right over there in Aries in your 10th house of your calling, your public recognition, your leadership, your career, right? What you're going to be known for. This is like when people speak your name, this line of work will be synonymous to your name. That is 10th house. So guess what? Now you're realizing like, hey, I'm not happy with my work. Why did I agree to that? What was I desperate when I said yes to that? What was going on? So now it's like you're thinking back about all of these things. So I just want to make a note that Chiron has stationed direct. And we're going to come back because Chiron about to start acting up in a moment. This is about to get good. So buckle up. It's all going to be leading somewhere. Trust me. I got you, okay? And so now you got all these career wounds coming up because because with your higher purpose, for some of you, you're going to want more. You're going to want to be more visible in work, right? You're going to want to take on a leadership role or, advise some things or step into a higher position or a higher calling. So guess what? Chiron's sitting over there in your 10th house, stationed direct. He was asleep for a little while, but now he up now. He up, he's waking up, he's stretching out. I just want to make that aware. Chiron went direct, okay? And so then now this wound is active. And so you're going to be thinking about these things of like, dang, I really need to kind of face those fears around being visible, maybe taking on more work, maybe really preparing myself for a leadership role, because Chiron is about traumas and insecurities you're having. So it's making you confront insecurities you have with being visible, with taking on more of a leadership role. Maybe you were thinking that someone wouldn't take you serious. They wouldn't see you as an authority head in your position, right? Chiron gonna make you address all those insecurities. And trust me, Chiron is about to start talking in a minute. But right now, Chiron just went direct. It's kind of waking up out of its hibernation, out of its slumber, right? It's getting the crust out of its eyes. It's stretching. But Chiron about to get real active in a minute. But before it does, now that you're having all of these wake-up shifts with your identity, with your daily work and rhythms and routines, right? Aligning with your belief systems and your higher purpose, then we have that full moon on January 3rd in your sign of Cancer, right in that first house. So this is really answering. This is really making you look into like your values, your identity, because this is all about who you are, right? So that full moon in Cancer is all about self-recognition for you. And so in real life, you start to see yourself clearly. You start to feel your needs, like what you're starting to feel these things in your body. Cancer is like, so you could start depression, like anxiety, because you're wanting to expand, you're wanting to stretch out, right? And so you start to realize how much you've been adjusting for other people. So this is the moment where you start to say like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And this is who I am now. And so why this happened here after everything else is because the 7th house is active now, with Mercury in the 7th house, right? And so in your 9th house is guiding you because you're basing everything off what you believe in and trying to align with your higher purpose and your higher calling. So the full moon that full moon became your benchmark for you. You really shedded a new skin with that full moon. And everything is going on internally for you, Cancer. These are things that you're feeling deep within, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to start saying no. You started questioning things like, this is just not what I want to do anymore. I want more for myself, even in your relationships. And even if you are partnered with someone, with this expansion that you're having with regards to your identity and with regards to what you're going to be doing for work, it will have an effect on your romantic connections because you are expanding. So this may have been a time where you start to see where people really couldn't hold you. They really couldn't contain you. They really couldn't grow with you. And then some others, they did. They were able to accept you and grow with you. So these are things that are just happening, and it's building up, right? And so boom, everything is getting loud as heck in your 7th house. So now we're in between the dates of the 6th to the 9th of January. We're having Sun conjunct Venus, Venus conjunct Mars, Sun conjunct Mars. Child, we're talking about that week was just crazy. I'm talking about crazy. So in real life, this looks like relationship dynamics intensifying. This could be even be at work. You could start getting a little snappy at work. Co-workers getting on your damn nerves, not wanting to go to work today. Your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, they stepping on, look, they on the land. They about to step on the damn landmine. Don't even damn know it, because power dynamics are surfacing now, because you're starting to realize where you have been overcompensating, or you just was doing way too much for too little pay, or you're doing too much and you're not even getting the recognition for the work that you're doing. So you're starting to feel that tension within. As I said before, you're starting to feel this in your body, Cancers, right? And so now you're thinking about commitments, and all this conflict is starting to arise, right? Because Capricorn does not care about how you feel. What Capricorn cares about is functionality, and this sustainable. And so why this is happening after the full moon, Cancer, is because now you know who you are. So partnerships and dynamics are going to respond accordingly. I'm telling you, you probably wanted to call out of work that week. That probably been a week you wanted to quit. I mean, you cussing people out because you just realize it's just like a light bulb went off in your head. Again, that's Mercury, right? This light bulb went off in your head about, this ain't even who I am. What made me do that in the first place? So you really kind of annoyed with yourself. Like snapping on everybody else. And so, but it's a good thing, right? Because the 9th and the 10th, Jupiter starts opposing Venus, the Sun, and Mars. Remember, Jupiter's in your first house. And the reason why that this is kind of like a stress test, sort of kind of speak, is what I wrote down. That's kind of like how I interpreted that when I was studying over everything, because this is where your 1st and 7th house axis are being tested because of this new you that is emerging, right? So it's kind of like people got to get with it or they don't. Cancers, at this point, you really in the I don't give a fuck phase. I mean, that is literally your energy right now. Like, I don't care. Like, if you like it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? And so you're starting to feel this pull between yourself and others. So you start to notice, and again, how you're overgiving, how you're over-compromising, how you're over-identifying with something that's not even no longer resonating with you anymore, right? So you may have made someone else's needs feel larger than your own, right? And so Jupiter is magnifying the self because, again, it is in your 1st house right now. So this opposition is asking you, were you expanding everybody else at the expense of you, right? So, and why this is the final brick for week 1 is because now you're seeing the imbalance clearly. The 1st and the 7th axis is fully awake. And so the rest of January starts to build on that awareness, Cancers. So nothing after this week is happening blindly at all. It never does. So just going to go back and do a recap of week 1, right? Week 1 forces you to realize, 1, that your daily life is misaligned with your beliefs. 2, your identity has definitely changed. 3, your relationships must now adjust to match the new emerging you. And so, this is not the conclusion, Cancers. This is just the beginning, because this is going to serve the foundation as you begin to evolve. And now you're going to, as we start layering these bricks on week by week, you're going to really start to see why the theme for this year is main character for you. All right, so let's roll into week 2 here. So, week 1 revealed everything. Week 2 is where things really get sticky. Remember we was talking about my boy Chiron, right? Chiron up now. And you know why Chiron up? Because see, you're having all this internal conversation with yourself about who you are now, what you have accepted, and what you're no longer going to tolerate. Point blank, period, for you. Chiron said, okay, I'm glad you in this mood now, Cancers, where you're really starting to notice your worth and your value, and you're really wanting to align with your highest purpose. So Chiron up. This is the week I call it the Chiron Wars, because Chiron is squaring every fucking body. Excuse my language. I'm sorry about that. So, okay. Chiron, the first square, Venus square Chiron. Venus is currently in Capricorn in your 7th house. Again, Chiron is in your 10th house in Aries, in the sign of Aries. So week 1 showed you the imbalance, Cancers. now you're going to see why you were tolerating that stuff in the first place. Chiron finna get all that up out of you, but you about to be like, you about to get an oil change. You've been running around that same oil Cancers for a whole year. Okay, back to it for real. Okay, so let's get back to it. So in real life, Cancers, you're with this, and this is all happening January the 11th. The whole week of the 11th for January with the Chiron wars. Okay, Chiron went and knocked on everybody's door and just started beefing. But it was so necessary. It was so necessary. You're gonna see it. Let me get back. Okay, get back to the program, Niara. Get back to the program, girl. Okay, so in real life, you're starting to really, because before I get into that, let's talk about Venus. Venus is value. Venus is the planet of value, love, and romance. But specifically for you, because Venus is in Capricorn, this is, again, Capricorn don't care nothing about no romance. Capricorn care about structure. Is this solid? So now you're starting to really reevaluate your value. What you have agreed to, right? Chiron making you realize, like, why did you agree to that amount of pay? Why are you staying in this relationship and you keep getting breadcrumb, child? So in real life, you're starting to really feel under-recognized in your partnerships. You're questioning, is your role respected? You know, there's subtle resentment about being undervalued, but these are things that you agreed to. These are things that you have stayed in for one reason or another. So you're starting to realize, like, certain agreements hit old insecurities around being visible, around taking on more of a leadership role in your positions, or even just being more vocal in your romantic connections. And so again, Chiron in the 10th is the wound around authority, leadership, being taken seriously, public credibility. And why this matters now at this point is because the imbalance in the 7th house is directly tied to the unhealed 10th house wounds of being seen, of being, you know, your credibility, your authority, your leadership being taken serious. You know what I'm saying? So now you don't overcompromise because you're trying to be nice, or you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, Cancers. That crap over with, okay? And so you're overcompromised because somewhere you doubted your authority, and that's why you did it. Again, Chiron is going to show you why you tolerated this stuff in the first place. So this had to hit the surface first because you got to understand your value. Because without understanding who you are and your value second, how are you going to negotiate or renegotiate any type of term and gain any type of leverage? Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, so Chiron went knocked on Venus' door. Now Chiron stepped over here and now he's talking to the sun. This is so funny to me, y'all. So, okay, so again, all these personal planets are in your 7th house right now of one-on-one dynamics, partnerships, agreements, business, contracts, public enemies, well, hidden enemies, all that good stuff, right? So now it's not just about your value, Cancers. This is about your identity. So in real life, you may have felt, you know, feeling exposed professionally, like, oh man, I don't think I'm good enough, or maybe I don't have the right amount of credentials to be in this role, or, you know, you're just really starting to feel like you're not where you're meant to be. It's a lot. And so then you're starting to questioning whether you're stepping fully into leadership. You're realizing where you dim yourself. Baby, you about to shine, honey, because the sun represents self-definition. So this square is asking you here, are you negotiating from confidence or from insecurities? So first you felt the wound regarding your value. That was Venus. Now you're feeling it in your identity. That is the sun. And so the pressure just going to continue to escalate. Because again, I said this week is about Chiron wars. So Chiron will stop talking to Venus. Chiron will talk to the sun. Not Chiron talking to Mars. They be slamming doors over here real hard. But anyway, back to the program. And so at this point, it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. So in real life, you're starting to get frustration about your career positions. irritation in partnerships. I feel like y'all started feeling this even before this happened. And the reason why I felt like y'all may have started feeling this even before the Chiron wars happened is because Cancer, you're intuitive. You are feeling things before they even are happening. You may not understand why, but the astrological events is just evidence of it. I really felt like I felt like after that full moon in your sign of Cancer on January the 3rd, I really felt like you guys started feeling that stuff immediately. I feel like things got intense immediately because it's kind of like you've waken up. You've been in this slumber. And so even when now that Chiron is squaring Mars, I really feel like the irritation in your partnerships, and that's including work, love life, frustration about your career, I feel like that been happened, to be honest with you. And so now you have this sharp awareness of where you have been kind of passive, playing it low key, downplaying who you are. And so if Mars is about assertion, then this square is saying to you, you can't keep operating from any type of old wound you're having around your ego or your self-esteem or wanting to be visible or any of that. You're having to address it head on. And so why this completes this trio is because Venus, again, you felt it, the Sun, you recognized it, and Mars, now you're irritated enough to try to do something about that. And so as we're moving on in that week, now we're having the expansion check because Mercury is in opposition with Jupiter, right? So this is your 7th house and your 1st house. Again, every time one house is activated, the opposite house is activated as well. So again, we're still on that me versus we theme here. So this is where the conversations get really loud with Mercury opposing Jupiter here. So in real life, again, you're having bigger conversations, clarity about this imbalance, seeing where you've been over accommodating, again, realizing how much you have grown. And with Jupiter sitting in your 1st house, Jupiter has enough capacity to allow you to expand. Matter of fact, Jupiter, really was a team player with magnifying everything that was imbalanced in your life so you can do course correction, so it can allow you to expand, Cancer. So here, Mercury in the 7th is asking, do these agreements match the person that I'm becoming? And why this is happening after the Chiron wars is because you couldn't have these conversations clearly until you understood what wound was driving your decisions, Cancers. So now you see it. And because you see it, now you start to speak differently. You're going to start, again, Mercury, communication, the way you think, the way you're learning, right? So now that you're aware of all these things, you're going to be even more assertive about, again, what you were agreeing to, right? And so as we're moving on to January the 15th, we have the Venus sextile Saturn, right? And so again, this is more stabilization after the Chiron wars. And so in real life, you start to set firmer standards and boundaries. You're clarifying your expectations clearly. You're adjusting long-term agreements. You're recognizing which alliances are future aligned with you. Because here, okay, I said Venus is sextiling Saturn, and then Venus is trining Uranus. Okay, so I want to make sure that I said that, because Saturn is saying here that build this correctly because now you see the value in yourself and you believe in yourself. And Uranus is saying that you don't have to build this the way that you've been building this. Again, if you, for example, let's just use your career for example, you may have been wanting to step up into more of a leadership role, but then feeling like, oh well, I don't have the credentials, or I don't have like 6 years of experience, like they always be asking for a child and be a bus. Anyway, Uranus saying there's another way to do this. And when you're having a sextile, that's people popping up out of nowhere, and it's for a reason. Now, because you are aware of where you feel like you had some type of insecurity around your professional life, now that you are aware of it and you are making a conscientious decision to fix it, the universe responds. Remember, the universe doesn't respond until you do. It responds after you make some type of decision to do something. And so with the Venus sextile and Saturn, you may have seen people pop up in your life or opportunities come out of nowhere, or you're having the courage enough to go and talk to your boss about growth opportunities and what does that look like in the company, and where, how do you get on track or whatever like that. Maybe you're starting to, talk to your boss or look for opportunities elsewhere, or maybe furthering your education to make sure that you do have the credentials to do X, Y, and Z, right? Then a mentor may pop up out of nowhere in this field, or that can guide you, or maybe you meet a new friend and they may have a friend of a friend that can help you into these situations, right? And because why this matters here is because you cannot restructure what you refuse to acknowledge. Again, the wounds earlier in the week was exposed, and so now the correction becomes possible, because now you're ready to deal with those insecurities and traumas you're having with wanting to elevate in your career. And so January the 16th, Mercury squaring Chiron. I told you, Chiron talking to everybody. Chiron wouldn't have knocked on everybody's door once they woke up. And so this is where the deal is sealed, because again, Mercury, cerebral, it's all mental. So in real life, you having clear understanding of where your insecurity shapes your choices. You're naming the wound that was directly tied to you holding back in your career. And now a shift is happening for you to negotiate or communicate your needs better. And so this matters here because early in the week, you felt it emotionally and physically when Chiron was tapping on everybody's door, having a conversation, right? Because it's all setting you up. Trust me, we're getting there. And so once this happens, there's no going back, because you're conscious of it now. You see what I'm saying? So you'll never agree to something where you're not being compensated fairly, or you're never going to agree to a romantic connection and you're not being treated fairly. So here we're moving on into the end of the week, and this is where things kind of start to set the tone. You're getting ready to start setting the tone. Now you having all this come up about your identity, about who you are, where you're going. Now that you are aware of that, things are starting to kind of like stabilize, and the tone is being set around the middle of January here, because we're having Venus sextile Neptune, we're having Sun sextile Saturn, and Sun trine Uranus, and then Venus enters into Aquarius, which is your 8th house. And this is going to be beautiful, because here Venus is detached. The Venus is in an air sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is one of those free-flowing, innovative, detached type of signs, type of energies. And this is beautiful for where you're coming out of now, because now you're not going to have this energy of, want to be nice. You're going to be like, oh no. But let's get into it. And so in real life, this is starting to look like clarity about what partnerships are actually worth. Work, romantic, and otherwise. Evaluating compensation, shared assets, long-term gains, Cancers. Looking at contracts more strategically and not emotionally. This is not one of those situations where you're going to be like, oh, I guess I could. You're going to be like, no, this is not worth what I need to. No, the pay isn't worth it. So it's going to be a no. You're not even going to feel bad about it. So you're going to be thinking about leverage here. And so this focus shifts from, do I like this, to what is the exchange here? You're going to want to make sure that you're getting a fair deal here. So you're going to really start looking out for yourself. And this is why you're going to be the main characters for 2026. Let's continue to go. Because Aquarius activates your 8th house of shared resources, equity, financial entanglements, power distribution. This is where everything kind of bonds. This is other people's money. Okay, Cancers? So now you're ready to renegotiate your power, but intelligently though, strategically, because you're seeing the wounds have been exposed. You're really stepping into the new you. The old skin is shedding. Baby, that crab shell don't got too dang on small. You're really about to be a firecracker in a crab shell. Oh my God. So we're going to close out week 2. This is the second brick that is building up this arc. And so week 2 forces you to realize that your relationship patterns are tied to your career. Your agreements reflect old wounds you're having around career. Your growth now require higher standards And your power must be negotiated, not assumed. You're not going to assume anything anymore, not with work, not in romance. You're going to be asking questions and checking the facts. You're going to be making sure that you are being heard, that you are putting down your boundaries. I mean, even in work, I'm talking about your benefit. When you start looking at these benefits and compensation packages, you're going to really be like, I'm leaving here with something. You're going to really start looking out for yourself more. Okay. And so the first and seventh houses, the first and seventh house axis, they're fully awake and conscious at this point. The 7th and the 10th tension has been exposed, as well as the 8th house is now active with Venus entering over into Aquarius. So this is recalibration, Cancers, before elevation. So let's get into the third week. And this week is the signature. I call this week the signature and the shift week. Because Cancers, this is not about being emotional, honey. This is about execution. This is about you making executive decisions in spite of how uncomfortable it may be for you to act in this manner due to your nurturing type of energy, right? This is where you're really, because you just have this energy of putting other people first. That's just who you are, but not this year. Not this year. And that's why you open up with that square. Okay, so January 18th, we're having Mercury conjunct Mars and the new moon in Capricorn. So your mouth is a weapon. Again, Mercury, communication. Cancers, your mouth is a weapon and a contract this week. Because, baby, you are, again, I'm telling you, you're not going to be settling for peanuts anymore. Relationships, work, none of it. None of it. And you have enough confidence now to walk away. So let's continue. So the Mercury conjunct Mars in Capricorn, this is very decisive language here. We're talking about Mercury and Mars coming together. Mars is about drive, action, desire, right? So this is you negotiating your salary without blinking. This is you telling your romantic partner, it's got to be this or I'm gonna walk. In January, a lot of this started to come up. A lot of these things started to purge in January, right? And then now with the new moon in Capricorn at 28 degrees, Cancers, this isn't a soft beginning. Ain't nothing soft about this, right? Because this is you agreeing to something real, a title, a responsibility, a whole new lane. Because of who you are now, you are conscientious of this new you, right? So Capricorn again rules your 7th house. You know, and so agreements, contracts, business partnerships, it's not really, to be honest with you, Cancer, it's not really even romantic. I feel like this is more so about you, and your romance is taking a back seat, and it will adjust as you are expanding, if that makes sense. So this is like, you know, you're signing off on paperwork, you're accepting an offer, you're setting expectations around this time, you're clarifying your compensation, right? You're defining your role. Like, you're not just going, you know, okay, I know this, what this said, but we're going to negotiate this. Like, you're really getting serious, or you're having this mindset of once you find that new career, or if you went to your boss and you're having these conversations, you're ready to have these conversations now. You're having the tenacity, the confidence, the courage to go and confront or have a discussion. That's not necessarily say confront, but have a conversation with your boss about these type of things here. Like, it's getting serious because you're realizing, like, I need to be getting paid way more. I want way more responsibility or leadership role. I want more pay. Like, you're really going to start really seeing, like, is the culture really for me? Everything they said in their interview phase that they really believe in their employees and really help them grow, was that real, or was that just all fluff? So you're going to really start to find these things out about whether these organizations or these companies really do believe in your growth, or it was just talk. Or you're going to start to realize, like, man, I just took this job just to keep the lights on, just to keep my babies fed. But I know that there's something more for me. Like, I know that there's something more for me. So again, you're having enough, courage to begin to start restructuring your life and not just dreaming about it, Cancers. And so then January 19th, everything really starts to lock in, and you're starting to redefine your 9th and your 11th house with precision. And again, your 9th house is what? Your belief systems, your higher learning, your philosophy, cultural themes start to play out here. And your 11th house is your social networks. It's getting good. And so on the 19th, we have Mercury sextile Saturn. We have Mercury trine Uranus, Sun sextile Neptune. All those are harmonious aspects. All the planets are talking very harmonious to one another. They're here to help you. Every time you have a sextile, if you are taking advantage of that energy, doors will open up for you. And so this is like clarity and innovation and vision all happening together, right? So you're not just accepting a job, Cancers. No, honey. You're stepping into a version of yourself that actually fits it. I'm telling you, if these careers are not aligned with who you are, you're not, again, this started off at the top of the year with your daily life, your daily work, what you're doing every day is not in alignment with who you are at this point. So that's why you're not just going to be accepting a job. At this point, Cancers, you are really already starting to really position your mind for a career, something that you see yourself doing long term and for a very long time. And so that's why you're not just going to be accepting a job. You're really going to be stepping into a role that really resonates with who you are and who you are becoming. And so a lot of you are really going to be stepping into leadership positions, I'm telling you. And so with the Mercury sextile Saturn in your 9th house, which is Pisces, right? This is mature communication, because again, Mercury is all about communication, right? And Saturn is about structure, time, organization. So here we go. This is like, having mature communication about long-term direction. So this is the contracts tied to expansion. Again, do y'all really believe in your employees? Is there really growth here for me? This is, how does this position grow with me types of conversations, right? This could be international, because again, 9th house talks about all that like long distance travel. 9th house is like worldview energy, right? Big picture. So this is like international, digital, publishing, legal, again, higher education. You may be feeling like, well, you know what, maybe I need to go back to school so I can really step into that role. And then having enough courage and gumption to stop dreaming about it and just finally go ahead and do it, right? So this is about, having conversations around that. So you're thinking long game, not quick money. Again, a job is something like, oh, let me just take this job so I can just keep my lights on, keep my babies fed so I can just, live. No, you're thinking like, okay, what I really see myself doing? This is getting good already. And so then boom, we have Mercury trine Uranus in your 11th house. That is Taurus energy, right? So this is opportunity through network. And that's why you go back just last week when Uranus was telling you, you don't have to go about this the old fashioned way, like getting on Indeed or LinkedIn. You don't have to go to them old fashioned job boards. And I told you, when you see a sextile come up, that is the universe about to send someone in here. And so now we're having Mercury trine Uranus in your 11th house. So opportunities are going to start to come through networks. You may start to go out a little bit more, but you're very conscientious about where you're going, though. You're not just going out to any type of event. You're going to really start to notice your shifts in your groups, because you're wanting to be tied to or associated with people who are doing bigger and better things, who are really business focused, career oriented. So again, opportunity is going to start coming through these networks. You don't have to go to Indeed, or opportunities are going to start coming through the people that you're going to be introduced to. So a new friend, a referral, some type of audience. If you're choosing to, do an online business, maybe that's something for you. I want to step into the entrepreneurial headspace and the entrepreneurial space, and you do that. And so then you starting to have collaborations come from that, because now you're on a social platform here. And so this is kind of like stable innovation for you, Cancers, because it's future focused, but it's financially grounded. And so then you have the Sun sextile Neptune. Whew, child, this is so good, because this is kind of like intuitive confirmation about your path. It's like your identity and what you believe about who you are now and where you're going, it is really coming together, because this is spiritual alignment with your professional direction. Cancer, you know exactly what you want to do with your life. And when I mean professional direction, it's all coming together. So this is not delusion. You're not delusional. You're being very intentional about what you're doing. So this is where you stop playing small just to stay safe. You're going to be getting out your comfort zone. You're going to be, now you have all this clarity. And see, that's why we're starting to have, like, now your 11th house is being lit up, if you notice that. Your 11th house is being lit up with social networks and groups and things of that nature, right? You know why? Because now you have so much confidence in yourself, because you've seen where the cracks were. You've seen where the leaks were. So now the universe is positioning you to meet new people, to be accepted into new social networks and groups now, because you have enough confidence. One, to the Chiron Wars Chiron Wars was really the pivotal point in the month of January for you, because it allowed you to heal so many wounds around your identity and your self-esteem. And so once you were in your value and what you're worth, and not being, and then when Chiron squared Mars, it made you have enough confidence to act. So now you can really start to go out into these groups and these networks and meeting people, and really start talking and delivering your elevator speech about who you are, where you're focused at now, what's the new direction for you, right? And so now you're going to layer all that on top of, here comes January 20th, and you're going to layer all that on top of the sun entering into Aquarius. Venus conjunct Pluto, major transformation with regards to your value and how you love on yourself, how you feel about yourself. I mean, you are being rebranded from the ground up, from the inside out, with that aspect. Venus conjunct Pluto, and it's all going down in Aquarius, your 8th house. So then we have Saturn sextile Uranus, Mars trine Uranus, Mars sextile Saturn. Cancers, this is restructuring power of your identity and who you are, and how, again, 8th house is other people's money. So Aquarius rules your 8th house. Again, other people's money, shared resources, bonuses, back end money, benefits. And Venus conjunct Pluto, this is intense. I mean, intense value and financial alignment. So this can look like you negotiating benefits, profit sharing, commission structure, investment conversations. You're really starting to have conversations about investments. Or you're at least having that swimming around in your head. You're thinking big money. You're thinking long term. And because this is 8th house, somebody gonna come up somewhere and you're gonna get backed. Okay? And so you're going to have access to something exclusive here. This is not just surface money. Cancers, this is going to be leverage for you. And then you have Saturn in Pisces, which is your 9th house, sextiling Uranus, sextiling Uranus in Taurus, which is your 11th house. This is long-term vision meeting strategic community. I love this. And remember, I told you sextiles are very important, because this is where the universe just dropped people into your lap. It seemed like fated encounters. No, it's because you are awakened to what you're wanting to do now. You're being very determined about it here. And so that's why everything is happening in sequential order the way that it is. It's kind of like checking, okay, are Cancers awake? Are they adjusting? Are they stabilizing the energy? Are they really conscientious about what they're doing now? Are they really understanding their value? Are they really understanding how they have been undervaluing or underplaying themselves here? And so that's why you're going to have, you're going to start meeting people who can really help you achieve your long-term financial goals, and they're going to be backing you, because now you can eloquently speak about what you're wanting, and you're starting to see the value in what you bring, your skill set, all of that, and you're going to be able to beautifully, at that time back in January, is where you start to really being able to really talk about it, execute it, talk about it. And I love that energy for you guys. And then we're going to talk about your belief system here in the 9th house. It's starting to stabilize your network growth, your expertise in monetizing through your audience, social. Some of you guys could really be getting on on these social platforms, right? And so your philosophy is really becoming your infrastructure, Cancer, because this is what you believe about yourself. This is the philosophy of how you believe about yourself, right? And so then you have Mars trining Uranus. So this is 6 to the 11th house. This is your daily work. So your daily work is attracting opportunities through your groups and your visibility. See, now you've healed all that your wounds around being visible. Now you're more courageous about talking to quote unquote strangers, right? If it makes sense for you. If it makes sense, if there's a meaning to this, right? So then you have Mars, 6th house, Saturn. This is your 6th to the 9th. This is the discipline, execution supports expansion, Cancers. I love this. And so then we're entering into January 21st to the 23rd. This is where your authority begins to heat up here. It's subtle, but it has a very powerful energy, a very powerful undertone here, because now you're having Sun conjunct Mercury, Mercury conjunct Pluto, Sun conjunct Pluto, and you're having Mars entering into Aquarius. Cancer, your entire identity is shifting and you're becoming so detached because Aquarius is giving you that room to breathe. It's allowing you to detach and not really care about how others are perceiving you, of this new you that's emerging, right? And so with the Sun conjunct Pluto in your 8th house, this is so powerful. This is owning your authority. This is stepping into your sovereignty, so unapologetic. This is realizing that you have had the leverage all along and using that to your benefit. Again, this is all going down in the 8th house, which is other people's money. And so now you're understanding that your value is not to be negotiated. And because Saturn and Neptune are sitting over in your 9th house, this is your authority is tied to your wisdom, because you've learned. Now you see the era of undervaluing yourself, right? And so you've lived this already. So now you have a higher understanding of yourself, your alignment, and where you're going. And so now this power is starting to radiate to people that you are connecting with. They're starting to feel this new confident you, or this stronger you. You may have had people tell you, "Oh, Cancer, you acting funny." Is you change, did. And feeling and not even blinking about it, because you're understanding. It's like once you see these things, you can't unsee them, right? And so it's like, you're just thinking differently here with long-term goals, your community here. You're no longer underselling yourself anymore, Cancers. And then Mars entered into Aquarius. Now you move with power. You move with assertion. You're not reactive to anything anymore. Everything you do from this point on will be intentional. It will have a purpose. It will have a plan. You're not just moving around in the dark. You have so much control over your emotions right now, Cancers. It's like a superpower. And so as we're closing out week 3, which is the 3rd brick in this architecture that we're constructing here, you're starting to look at the sequence here. Week 1, pinned your ass to the wall, right? Because you have Mercury in your 6th squaring Neptune in your 9th. So the confusion about your direction was highlighted here. And so you had questions about whether your daily work actually aligned with your long-term vision. And then Jupiter in your 1st said, you're meant for more, Cancers. But Neptune and Saturn in your 9th said, you gotta damn act like it. You know you're meant for more. So act like it. Come on, let's speed this up. Let's get this going. And so that was a little bit of, identity discomfort for you, because you've been operating in that energy for so long. And so now you're starting to see where you need to expand, where you need to start doing things a little bit differently. And so week 2, again, the week of the Chiron Wars, that exposed all your wounds. Now that fracture has been open with the misalignment in your daily life and what you believe that where you're going, now the wounds around what has been stopping you, what has been blocking you, and you realize it's been you. It's nobody else. It was you the whole time. Feeling like you're inadequate, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling whatever you was feeling, the reason why you're not achieving the goals you need to be achieving in your career. Chiron made you face all of that, right? So you're having these wounds come up around your career, around your visibility, right? Around your leadership. And you couldn't hide from it. You had to look at it. So where you've undercharged, or where you've accepted less, or where you played supportive instead of sovereign and saying no. Like, no, I don't want to do that. This week was a little sticky. It was a little tough, but it was very clarifying. And now we're in week 3. This is the week of execution now, because you're not playing it small anymore. Mercury conjunct Mars in your 6th house. You speak and you act decisively with regards to your daily routines, your service, and your health. You may start to even see an improvement with the way you were eating and wanting to do a little bit more physical activity as well. And so then you have the new moon in Capricorn happen. You set concrete professional intentions here. And then Saturn in the 9th, sextiling Uranus in the 11th, your long-term belief system started to bring in a more social network that will be able to expand with you, help you expand, right? I should say. And so then we had Sun, Mercury, and Pluto in your 8th. Now you're starting to understand how powerful you are and understanding that you have leverage. So in this moment, Cancers, you could have been realizing it was never about the job, baby. It was about your identity. The reason why you said yes to this position, the reason why you decided to take this pay on these terms, that is why. And so now we're shifting into these different things. And again, week 1 was about questioning your direction. Week 2 was about exposing the insecurity around your authority, visibility, and within your career sector. And then week 3, it made you claim your power. So again, what you're noticing here is nothing is really romantic going on. Nothing really romantic. This is all about your career. This is all about your daily life, what you do for work, how you're feeling about yourself, really stepping up into, higher positions, climbing the organizational chart. So this is career architecture for you, Cancers. This is really building up your career. This is like re-engineering your identity, your self-concept of yourself. This is kind of like having that foundation laid, and now it's being upgraded. Yourself is being upgraded. And once your foundation is solid, love doesn't have to compete anymore with your ambition, Cancer. It aligns with it. But at the same time, right now, love is secondary. So January's arc is about you no longer negotiating against yourself anymore, Cancers. So week 1 was awareness. Week 2 was exposure of those wounds. Week 3 is you stepping up into full-on sovereignty and authority and leadership. So we're building this thing brick by brick, and we are not done yet. And so here we are entering into week 4. This is where things really start to take off here, right? Neptune entered into Aries, your 10th house at 0 degrees. Baby, this is a brand new era, because Neptune is one of those planets that shape the generation as a whole. But for you, it's going down in your 10th house, right? This is your career and calling. This is public reputation and social status, Cancers. This is authority and leadership. This is legacy, your life purpose. And Neptune stays in a sign, in a house, baby. It camps out for like 14 years, honey. Okay? And so, again, for the last several years, Neptune was in Pisces in your 9th house. And this was your belief. Your beliefs were dissolving here. Your worldview was softening. Your long-term direction felt foggy at times. You probably, for a lot of y'all, for the last couple of years, you probably wanted to move, but didn't really know what to do. It just all kind of just felt like not the right time right now. You were not lost. You were recalibrating your philosophy around your vision, around your way forward, around your identity, your belief systems, right? And so that's why week 1 had to happen. That's why the 6th and the 9th square would matter, and it was so intentional. And that's why Saturn in the 9th kept pressuring you on your standards about what are you believing about yourself here. And so, you were being re-educated spiritually and professionally. And now with Neptune moving into Aries, it leaves the belief house and enters into the career house, Cancers. This is seismic. This is major. This is huge. So in real life, your professional dream gets bigger. Your calling feels more visionary. You start feeling or seeing yourself in a different light publicly. You feel pulled towards something that feels meaningful, not just profitable. It's not about the money anymore, Cancers. This is about what you're willing to build because you feel it within your bones. You resonate with this. What you're doing for work has purpose. It has meaning to you. It makes you feel alive. It makes you want to get up in the morning so you don't mind putting in the work, because this is really who you are. Your work is about to become you. You are going to be the work. The work is going to be you here. And so, but why now? But why now? Why is Neptune moving into Aries now? Because in week 2, if you had not went through that Chiron war, right? All those wounds being exposed in your 10th house, you wouldn't be ready to evolve. This feels like evolution at this point. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I mean by everything is building up. All these transits and aspects, they're happening in sequential order, one after another, and it's all for a reason. So again, as we start to build this up, you're going to start to see why everything matters. Everything matters. Every single aspect, a trine, a square, a opposition, a conjunction, all of it matters at the time it happens. Why this happened before this one. And this is one of those clear examples of why Neptune now moving out of Aries and moving out of Neptune and into Aries. Why now? Because if week 2 hadn't exposed the Chiron wound in your 10th, this would feel so overwhelming for you. But instead, it feels like you're evolving because you already addressed your fear of visibility, your authority wounds around leadership, your hesitation about being a leader, right? So Neptune in Aries in your 10th, it isn't confusion, it's inspire. You're ready to go because again, Aries is about initiation, baby. Aries ready to get things cracking again. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's also a cardinal sign. Aries ready to go. Aries fired up. So now again, your career has purpose. It now has meaning to you. It's not just about the money. It's not just about, I got to keep the lights on. I got to keep the babies fed. Yes, that is important. But now you're trying to figure out a way, or you have figured out a way how to do it while still living a life that's meaningful to you, not just dragging yourself into work every day. Now you're starting to see why that square at the January 1st was so important. It was a fracture to crack you open so you can get really aligned with your purpose. And we're still not building this arc. Let's go, guys. So as we're entering into this last week of the last week of January here, this is the week I coined power becomes decisive. You have Mars conjunct Pluto. All this is going down still in the sign of Aquarius in your 8th house. So now we move into controlled force here, Cancers. You are a force to be reckoned with, but you have so much control because you have so much understanding of who you are, about your identity, about your value, about your beliefs, about where you believe your life is going in the direction that it is going in, right? And so Mars has been building discipline in Capricorn in your 6th house, right? Pluto has been restructuring your power in Aquarius in your 8th house. This conjunction is saying here, I'm going to say Mars is in your 7th house. I'm sorry. Mars is in your 7th house in Capricorn. And Pluto has been restructuring your power in Aquarius in your 8th house here. And this conjunction is saying enough strategizing. It's time to move. Again, Mars is all about action, desire, drive, ambition. Mars is one of those energy, honey. It's going to bust through the door, baby. It's going to let you know what's here. Mars ain't doing nothing quiet. And so that's why I say you are a force to be reckoned with, but it's controlled because you have all of this stuff going on in the beginning of January that has prepared you for this moment here, right? So in real life, you cut something off cleanly. I mean, it ain't nothing that cut there. Okay, so you made a bold financial decision here. You claim your leverage and your power, baby. You stop negotiating from fear. You stop negotiating from insecurities, because again, that Chiron war is happening the second week of January, made you be like, whoa, 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 whoa. What you mean I don't have enough belief in myself? Gotta do something about that, right? So this is not emotional. You are not emotional at all. And that's the beautiful thing about all your personal planets being in Aquarius. As I mentioned before, it allows you to move with an air of detachment. Like, I don't care. I literally don't care, because this is about me. I have awakened to what has been keeping me blocked, why my life feels so stagnant, why I'm so unhappy with my daily work, my life, my routine, my service to the world. Like this, none of this is aligned with me. So it's like you just had a complete meltdown, a complete just collapse of your identity, of what you or who you have been previously. And now you're merging into this new person. It's beautiful energy. I love this. And that's why I really want to do this before we start talking about the energies that are coming up this week and next week. But let's get back into it, right? Again, this is not emotional, right? This is calculated power for you, Cancers. And I want you to notice the sequence again here. Again, I gotta make this clear, okay? Because it's all building up. Each week is a brick. So week 1 was a brick of awareness. Week 2 was a brick of your wounds being exposed around your leadership, around visibility, around a career, not a job. Two totally different things here. Week 3 was the brick of, you claiming your leadership, claiming your authority, claiming your sovereignty. And week 4 is you executing. You actually moving. You're doing something about this. And so Mars and Pluto don't ask for no damn permission. I told you, Mars don't do nothing. Mars ain't doing nothing quiet. And with Pluto, and this conjunction with Pluto, oh, that's kind of like Mars on steroids. So it's like this alignment is being enforced now. And then here we come. We're moving into January the 29th. This is where your instincts are starting to come back to, it's kind of like your daily system is kind of like resetting itself. You're kind of getting your flow back, your rhythm back here, because now you have the plan on how you're going to get up out of this debacle about this misalignment with your daily life, right? And so you have in Mars sextile Lilith, Mars in Aquarius in the 8th, Lilith in Sagittarius is in the 6th, right? And so this is not like hidden 8th house shadow work energy, because I know we're talking about Lilith here, okay? But it's not that type of vibe, not with this one. This is like your instinct, but it has purpose. It's serving some type of operational purpose in your life right here, because Lilith in the 6th house is where you refuse to be micromanaged. Where you resent inefficiencies. Like if it don't make sense, like you're not going to go with it. You're going to be speaking up about it, right? And then you have, where when something is off in your workflow. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be a part of that. Or in order for me to be a part of that, this is what I need, right? This is where you will not overserve anymore. You're not going to be doing 90% of the project while Rebecca, James, and John sitting over here doing nothing but getting all the praise. And so now you're starting to see, okay, so you see what I'm saying? So why now? Why now? Because now Mars is in Aquarius, the 8th house of power, again, contract, shared resources. It sends a clean and strategic sextile to like, I'm not doing this stuff anymore. Lilith is that energy where she gonna speak up. And so now you've had all this shift going on earlier in the month. It started out with your daily life. You're acknowledging something is off. And now we're ending the month of January with Mars sextiling Lilith. You're taking action about this stuff. You're speaking out on these things now that has been off balance in your daily work. So even if you're having to stay here until you can find something that's more suitable for where you're going long term, you're going to you started to speak up on some of this stuff, or you started to act different. You started to speak out. You started to say things. You started to call things out. You started to have conversation with people, pulling people to the side, like, hey, let me talk to you about this. This project, So what are you contributing to the team? What are you going to, you're really like having enough gumption to have conversations with individuals about what they're doing, or the lack of what they're doing, or at least going to your boss or your higher up, having these conversations about where these people are lacking at. And you're also starting to see people who really don't really like you at work. Because again, their 7th house is about hidden enemies. So again, you're starting to really see things being played out in real time at work. Like, oh, you never really had my back. And it could be and it could literally be your boss, or it could be someone who was really like, you were in, you had to work in a team environment, and you start to realize that these people really don't have my back. So a lot of these things start to come up for you, right? And so again, let's talk about the sequence yet again, so you guys can really understand, and hopefully that it start clicking with you here. So again, week 1, Mercury squared at Neptune, exposed that your daily life, right, that your 6th house did not match your bigger direction, which is your 9th house. In week 2, Chiron and the 10th force you to confront the career wounds. Week 3, you claim authority in your 7th and 8th houses through the Capricorn and Aquarius activations. And so now at the end of the month, we're talking about January 29th, it's all being integrated. So in real life, you restructure your schedule. You adjust your responsibilities. You see what I'm saying? You stop doing tasks beneath your role. You start to delegate. Like, I'm not doing all of this by myself. And that's exactly what I was just talking about just a few seconds ago. You tighten workflow and operations at your job. Like, I'm not going to be doing all this amount of pay. I'm not going to be doing all of this just not to even be getting the recognition that I deserve so I can later put that on a resume. Like, no, you guys will not be undercutting me in no shape, form, nor fashion. It's like you refuse chaotic work situations anymore. It's no more me just playing Mr. or Mrs. Nice Guy in the background. And again, this was not you being emotionally rebellious. Because the truth is, here, Cancers, you cannot hold 8th house power if your 6th house systems is leaking energy. You're not going to be able to even negotiate anybody else's money about why you deserve more. So this sextile closes the loop from January the 1st. So you see what I'm saying? You started off with the imbalance in your daily work, in your life, because it wasn't aligning with your belief systems. So you're closing the month with speaking out about what's off at work. You're starting to see the leaks, the holes, people taking advantage of you. You're starting to realize, like, I'm being way too nice. I'm letting people just skirt all over me. I'm letting people take advantage of me, right? So the first crack was, again, my daily life makes no sense. And so the correction is then fix the system. And so you do. No drama, no announcement. You just executing everything because now you are aware of these situations going on in your daily life and your daily work, and you can no longer ignore them, right? So later on, you start to negotiate again. So we have a Mercury conjunct Venus, which is Aquarius in your 8th house. So again, this is not romantic. It's not. This is about terms, baby. So the 8th house, again, about your compensation, your investments, funding, benefits package. This is power, because again, 8th house is about power dynamics. So now you're having the gumption to speak out on the imbalances at work. Now you can go in with proof and with the leverage. And now you have the power to renegotiate and get better working conditions for yourself. And so, and with it all playing out in Aquarius, this is about strategy, long-term positioning, right? And so now that Mars just cleaned up your daily life, your daily workflow in your 6th house, right, with Lilith, Mercury and Venus meet in the 8th house to really formalize your value, because Mercury, again, is the conversation. Venus is the value. Aquarius is all about innovation and future and long-term plans. And the 8th house is about your leverage. So in real life, Cancers, this looks like, again, compensation discussions, renegotiating your role, clarifying your expectations in these business partnerships. Again, that's work, right? So adjusting your revenue, or if you're a business partner, if you were in a business with someone, now you're adjusting like revenue share, revenue splits, right? Conversations about funding, investments, or shared financial responsibilities, even if it's going on in your home with your partner. This is what this is looking like. Nothing about this is romantic. This is about handling real business. And nothing sweet about this. This is about, we're doing mature adult things. So you start to realize, you're realizing what you will and will not tie your name to anymore. Like you're just not going for it. And here's a deeper layer, Cancer. Because Neptune just shifted into your 10th house, and Saturn is still in your 9th house of belief and direction, and Uranus is in your 11th house of future networks and audiences and scaling. Your 8th house conversation is not small. It's not. It's not. You're positioning yourself for different alliances, different networks, different people, different financial tiers. We're talking about more money. We're going up the ladder, honey. Okay? Different circles. Because again, you know what they say, you tell me your circle, you tell me your network, I can tell you your net worth. So you're wanting to be around or involve yourself with people who got real live business going on, who talking about money and positivity, right? And so you're having different, now your long-term expansion is hitting a little differently now. So this is where your legacy architecture starts to begin, okay? And it only works because you fix the foundation first. So week 4 was all about decision and execution. You were not chasing anything. You were just defining. And once you defined your values, Cancers, everybody in the room adjusted, okay? And so the week 4 summary, this is where the month locks in, okay? Again, week 1, exposure and misalignment. Week 2, confronted rules around your career and authority and leadership. Week 3, initiated action and operational authority. I'm not like your workflow. We're not doing this, right? And week 4 locked it all in because you had enough confidence to talk about it, to bring it to the forefront or do something different, right? So the logic here is, Cancers, you cannot negotiate, claim, or scale any type of power, right, until you have clarified your identity, addressed your wounds, and asserted your authority. So week 4 was the payoff for you in January. It's you having these conversations, right? You're signing off on these things, the contract. Now you're having the leverage because you're understanding what you're bringing. You always know what you brought to the table. You just didn't speak out on it. Now you did. And so by the end of January, you no longer were reacting, Cancers. You seen the misalignment. You faced the wounds. You claimed it all. You defined your value. So every week built the next sequential intentional phase, right? And this was non-negotiable. And so every insight, confrontation, and test from January is now what allows February to land with precision here, okay? So without January, February's activations would hit you so blind, right? They would be scattered. You would be so reactive. Now you're ready to act with awareness. So Cancers, we're really tying this thing up here. So before we dive in, let's take a moment to kind of pause and connect the dots, okay? So again, January wasn't random chaos. Again, nothing about this was arbitrary. It was all in orchestrated design, cosmic design, right? So it was prep work, from week to week. It was identity shifts, partnerships, wake ups, career alignment moments. It set you up perfectly for February. Because by the end of January, you know who you were, what you stood for, and where things in your life were functional or broken, okay? And so now February starts showing you where the work is going to pay off, okay? And so let's build on week 5. This is the first week of February, which is week 5 of building up this architecture, architecture, right? And so week 5, which is the first week of February, this is from awareness to opportunity, value, visibility, and new pathways, baby. So here we go, February the 1st. This is the culmination of this value that you have been kind of integrating yourself with now because you know who you are, right? And so, boom, February 1st, what happened? Full moon in Leo, second house. What is the second house? What is the second house? Second house is about your money and your self-valuation. It is about your money. And I told you, every time one house lights up, it lights up its opposing house. So we're talking about the 8th house. So your second and 8th house axis are lit up. So this is going to be your money, other people's money. So let's talk about this. So this full moon isn't just you feeling energy, right? It's more so about your self-worth, your money, your resources, and the pride coming into it's like you're taking, it's like a healthy amount of pride, right? It's like all this stuff is coming to a head. It's like January made you confront your identity and your boundaries. And now the universe is asking you, what do you value? What do you value, Cancer, right? So what's working financially and energetically for you? What are you standing, or where are you standing in your own power, right? So in real life, you could be seeing like paycheck or project outcomes and thinking, okay, is this worth it, right? Or is it not? You might notice like your confidence in negotiating, your spending habits, or even in how your talents are being recognized. Cancers, this is how you're going to start measuring yourself after this. This is like your North Star for knowing where to invest your energy and who to engage. Because again, your time, your body, your creativity, your ideas, it is sacred, and you're going to start to safeguard it because you find the value in it, because that's what's really going to attract and draw in the resources that you need. And so why it matters now is because without the January work, the full moon would just feel like luck or just like random things happening to you. But now you understand at this point, while you start to understand your value in real terms, Cancers. It's like what aligns with the new you. And so that full moon in Leo in your second house was really sealing the deal on how you feel about your value, on what you're going to start to accepting for pay. Because again, second house is like the money that you're making. And so if you didn't have all that stuff coming up in January, making you deal with all these identity issues, your wounds around money, your value, your worth, you would. So now you're going to be making more money. That's your second house being activated. And again, it's activating your 8th house. So now that's power, that's leverage. So now you're going to have the power and the leverage to ask for more money. It all works hand in hand here. And so as we're moving on into February the 3rd, this is healing. You start to have healing and opportunities are starting to pop up. So let's talk about it here. You have Mercury sextile Chiron. Remember, just last month, Mercury was squaring Chiron. They were beefing. Now they're sextiling. And you know why? Because you acknowledge, you had this awareness around your wounds with your career, right? Or where you were feeling held back or blocked for whatever reason. And so again, squares in January woke you up to where you've been hurt, blocked, or undervalued. And now Mercury sextiling Chiron, which is a harmonious aspect, is very powerful here, because in real life, your mind starts to see ways to repair or strategize or communicate around these blocks. Conversations at work or with, your higher ups or authority figures could finally feel constructive and not confrontational. Because again, you could be bringing out a lot of that energy because you've been holding it all in. And so, but now these conversations are starting to feel, okay, you know what, Cancer is really a good worker. They're a really good employee. Maybe we should start doing something to really provide some type of structure so they really can elevate, or maybe shift them with but maybe attach them to a different team or partner them with someone different. These conversations start to feel more constructive and more strategic versus confrontational, right? So you're thinking in solutions, not just reacting to the wound anymore. You're finding a way. By this time, like the dust is starting to settle, you're stepping into your power now. So now you can start to try to find ways to resolve these wounds, right? And so then again, here we go. February the 4th, opportunity arrives. Uranus stations direct in Taurus in your 11th house. Now that your awareness is so sharp and your strategy is aligned with your higher purpose here, Uranus says, okay, doors are open, because Uranus over there retrograding. So now your windows of opportunity are starting to open up, Cancers. So in real life, this is you're meeting new people, fresh networks, unexpected collaborations could start coming up since last week up until now. And then so you're starting to thinking more of like career contracts, mastermind circles. Again, you're wanting to hang around people who have a vision, who are trying to make money, who are very business oriented. They're focused on bigger pictures. You're not wanting to surround yourself with people just gossiping all day. Like, that's not where your mind is right now. Your mind is on like your career and visibility, your legacy, your long-term vision here, right? So again, like your social spaces are going to start to be tied to your long-term goals. People in your life now they're going to serve purpose. It's going to be purposeful. And it's going to be a energy of reciprocity as well. You guys will both be helping each other in some type of way here. And so the timing is so precise because you'll start to meet the right people or be presented with options that would have been invisible before January's work. And that's why all this stuff starts to matter and you start to really see the bigger picture with everything here. So again, this isn't random luck. This is just opportunity just being structured here, right? And it only shows up now because January laid the foundation of self-knowledge, boundaries, and your identity, as well as your self-worth and value. And so from February 4th to February the 6th, you're having your alignment and value confirmed even further because you're having Venus sextile Chiron. See, again, Chiron was beefing with everybody. Like once Chiron woke up, Chiron would have knocked on everybody's door and be like, okay, so what's going on with Cancers? Why are Cancers feeling blocked in their value? Why are Cancers feeling blocked in their identity? Why they're not stepping into their full potential here? What's going on with their self-value, their identity, their self-worth, their approach? Why can't Cancers communicate? Why are Cancers not taking action? Now Chiron is coming back the next month, this month, and sextiling everybody because now the wounds have been exposed. So what are we going to do to heal this for Cancers, right? So again, Venus sextile with Chiron continues opening the door for you to fully start integrating your value, right? And your recognition. So you're seeing not only where you've been undervalued, but where your worth is being validated, Cancer, right? So, and then meanwhile, Mercury squaring Uranus shake things up just a little bit. This is your mind awakening to, innovation, change, thinking outside the box. So you're asking, am I ready to think differently about my career, my resources, and how I engage my networks, right? What old habits or agreements that need to shift to match my growth from here on out. And so when Mercury finally slides into Pisces, clarity meets intuition. You are not reacting anymore, okay? Cancers, you are being very logical with what you're doing here. It's almost you're acting with precision. You're really being strategic about what are you doing. You're not just moving blindly or off of whim or off your emotions anymore. You're feeling what's right. You're feeling what's aligned. But most importantly, you're thinking logically about what's next. Like, what's the next best logical step? So the chain reaction here, Cancers, is, January, identify your boundaries, your identity. Your first and your seventh house axis were awakened. So this is career and your value awareness. And then you have February the 1st, the full moon. It kind of crystallized, set things into place regarding your self-worth, your money, and your confidence. So February the 3rd through the 6th, tools to repair and integrate. Those are the Chiron sextiles now. Now you're able to having plans, meeting people. Maybe you'll meet a mentor that'll help guide you into the next phase of your life. Maybe you'll randomly meet somebody at a networking event or a friend of a friend that can help you, with this project or with you stepping more into visibility or more into a leadership role or landing a whole different position at a different company just because somebody put in a word for you. The thing about Uranus is about change, rebellion, and innovation. Uranus ain't gonna do nothing the old way. Nothing is old fashioned about Uranus. So every time you hear Uranus brought up in the aspect, Uranus gonna shake some stuff up. So again, when you're having all these sextile with Uranus and then Uranus station directing your life, it's going to change your networks. your social networks. And with it being in Taurus, this is giving stability. This is giving some type of grounded, secure friends. These are not going to be friends who are going to be wishy-washy. These are going to be people that are going to be around for quite some time. So again, and we're moving forward. Then I just mentioned Uranus going direct here. And so then February the 6th, Mercury entered into Pisces. So you having your strategy meet your intuition. You're going to start using your intuition as strategy, Cancers. And I have been saying that a lot, even in the readings that I have been doing for you all. Because again, I feel like with Cancers, although these transits are happening at this date and time, I feel that sometimes you guys are a little ahead of the mark because you are so intuitive and you embody these energies before they're actually happening in real time. So that definitely gives you leverage. So by the end of the first week in February, you're awake. You are fully awake and you're ready though. That's the thing. You're awake and you are ready. You're ready to move. You're ready to strategize. You're ready to mobilize. So you're starting to see your value lie, where networks will serve you, and where your career opportunities can actually land, Cancer, where they will actually stick. So the arc from January to now is that January prepared, February is activation month. So this brick is all about recognizing your worth, integrating your lessons from last month, right? And stepping toward the doors the universe has opened to you. And so currently we're in the last brick 6, and this is your alignment activation. This is the week that we are currently in, the week of February the 8th through the 15th, or the 9th through the 15th here. And so you're starting to have unexpected shifts because we have Venus square Uranus. Venus is still in Aquarius at this time, and she is squaring Uranus in the 11th. So brace yourselves a little bit, in the beginning of this little week that we're in right now, because the universe is shaking up your agreements and your resources right now. This is not about romantic energy, Cancers. It's about the value of what you invest in, who you're connected to. Again, Uranus is in your 11th house of social networks, right? So in real life, you could start to see this week, and as well as for the rest of February, you're starting to notice like unpredictability in your finances, contracts, or your collaborations. Or someone in your network may behave out of pattern, right? Or forcing you to rethink how you trust these people and how you're viewing these people. And that's why, again, it's bringing in, like, old friendship groups are going out and new ones are coming in. Because these new people that are coming in are going to be more in alignment with where you're going long term with regards to your vision and your strategy for yourself, right? And so your structure, you relied on previously could feel a little risky. And that's exactly the point though, because again, why now? January forced awareness of imbalance in your identity, your career, and your partnerships. And now February is showing you which connections are aligned with your growth and which are not, which I just explained. So the square is still tense, but it's really about more so wiping this, like moving people out the way, essentially, so new opportunities can flow and they can come into your life here, Cancer. So conversations about career or reputation are going to start to feel really productive and not make you feel triggered like you're being scrutinized. You're going to really start to feel so empowered with regards to talking about your long-term goals in your career, because you know exactly where you're wanting to go. And so you're going to start to finally take action on those wounds that had you not really stepping up into your full power or your full potential, right? And so why now? Because the square has prepared you, right? And so the sextiles allow functional movement with strategy. You're able to address these same wounds that made you feel so uncomfortable last month, because you had to become aware. And now that you was aware, you had time to think on them. And once that swelling went down, now the universe is opening up the opportunities for you to fix them, meeting people, finding solutions to these issues, right? And so January's lessons were all about that friction. February sextiles are about leverage, Cancers. So you're not just noticing anything anymore. This month you're starting to act. Last month was all about uncovering, digging up all that gunk. so you can really lay a more clean foundation for yourself as you're stepping into the new you. And I really do mean new you. Like, this is really your year, Cancers. And so, you know, February 12th and the 14th, which is like the last couple of days in this month, this is where your pathway really starts to confirm and open up for you, right? Because you have a Mercury conjunct the North Node, and your North Node is in Pisces, right? And then you're having Saturn entering into Aries, which is your 10th house. The universe now confirms your direction, Cancers. Mercury and the North Node tells you this thinking, these decisions, this alignment is exactly your path now. Saturn entering the 10th adds structure and accountability to your career and legacy now. So in real life, Cancers, plans or projects that been vague now, they get defined. They have more clarification, and they have more structure. You start to feel the weight of responsibility, but also the power of choice. Because again, what you're wanting more visibility, or what you wanting to step into a more, of a leadership role of some sort, that comes with some type of responsibility. So there could be further training, further skill sets that you're maybe needing, right? So you're going to be open to that constructive responsibility here. And so again, your daily routines, your career goals, your public visibility are now anchored to your long-term strategy, Cancers. And why now? Why now? This is where we start to connect the bricks, right? So without January's foundational bricks, you wouldn't even notice the opportunities or feel ready to handle them with responsibility, right? So squares became sextiles, chaos became structure, Cancers, and awareness became action. So let's talk about week 2 as we're wrapping up week 2. Week 2 compounds on all of what January taught you, right? The squares in January reveal your imbalances and your wounds. Sextiles in February give you actionable opportunities to correct them. And so you're now actively aligning your identity, career, and resources all together. So love or partnerships remain secondary as of right now, because the universe will deliver what matches your aligned self. So the chain reaction again for is like week 1 was the awareness of your misalignment, your identity, your partnerships, and then week 2 was your activation. I should say month 1. And so then month 2 was your activation, about your career, your resources, and your public alignment here. Your public alignment. So your outcomes by mid-February, where we are right now, you're functionally aligned, Cancers, and you're ready for what opportunities that are coming up in February, right? So you're going to start to have true power moves. You're going to start to have opportunities and doors being open to you. So Cancers, everything you have navigated in January and this week was not random. Again, this was not arbitrary, Cancer. This was just not randomly happening to you. It wasn't feel like your life was just being ripped from up under your damn feet. And you're like, oh my God, what is going on? Everything was being stripped, highlighted to position you for the better, for your better selves, for your higher selves, for your long-term vision and plans here, okay? So again, everything you navigate in January and this week was not random. It was preparing you to step into new opportunities, the work on your boundaries, your clarity, your identity, your value, your career. Alignment was necessary so that when the eclipse activates your 2nd and 8th house axis, you show up fully anchored in yourself, Cancers. So this isn't about reaction or struggle. Everything that happened to you was not to get you to react. It wasn't to say that you're struggling or was wanting you to struggle. It was about you being ready to receive. The universe is opening doors to new beginnings, fated encounters, and shifts in what you value and share now. Cancers, because you've done the internal work. You're not just moving into these moments blindly anymore. You're aligned, aware, and ready to claim what is yours, babes. And I love that for you. So everything has been orchestrated to position you for maximum leverage, baby, and clarity. So eclipse season becomes a launch pad for you and not a surprise. So I wanted to take the time to kind of backtrack, to really add some I guess some background, some context to what you were going through. I'm trying to cover my little bra strap. Y'all seen that little sexy kind of swing move to the front? I be tripping myself out. I be in my own little world sometimes, y'all. But anyway, so I really want to bring some context and clarity around all of that before I really start dropping more insight on the eclipse season that's coming up, and with Saturn moving into your 10th house. As you can see, everything that has happened to you, I should say for you rather, that has happened in your life up until this point, it was really positioning you for your 10th house themes of career and your calling, you know, your public reputation, your authority, your legacy, what you're going to be known for. Your 10th house is your provocation. It's not just what you do for a job. It's not just what you do for money. It's going to be your impact that you're going to have on the collective, Cancers. And there's so much more that I really have to, you know, drop for you guys. But I really want to take this time to lay this foundation correctly before just compounding information or other astrological events onto you without you having the right context around what has been going on or transpiring in your life. It has all been to prepare you for these windows of activation, for these portals, for these opportunities. And if you are not understanding, if you're in this oh woe is me energy, you're going to miss the dang on bus. And I did not want you missing the bus. So I wanted to kind of bring you guys up to speed by really going into detail about what you have been experiencing thus far and why it was so essential for your growth, because now you're about to be propelled forward. So don't think that anything has you just been feeling weird, or, you know, oh, Cancer just crazy. No, you're not. You're being prepared. Cancer, everything that has been happening for you, and that's why romance is taking a back seat right now for you collectively. And again, can romance happen? Of course. And for a lot of you, it will. But a lot of times you cannot put the cart before the horse. And so by you aligning your life, your identity, your values first, the right partnerships will come in, and not just karmic situations again and again and again, right? So all of this has been happening to really prepare you. This is your year where you're going to start to see financial increase. If that's what you're choosing to do, if that's what you're choosing for your life, you're going to start seeing financial increase. You're going to start to see where you're starting to speak out more about your value, about your compensation, your benefits package, who you're going to be collaborating with. You're going to be very intentional about your social networks, your groups, these associates, friends. Everything has to have purpose and intentionality in your life moving forward, Cancers. Well, I hope that this video helped, guys. And as always, vibe high. But I will be back, and we're going to really get into what's going to be happening with Saturn entering into your 10th house, joining Neptune over there, and with the eclipse that is coming up. So I will definitely be coming back to talk about that, but I really wanted to lay this foundation first for you guys. So again, take care and vibe high.